Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that means it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. We're very happy to have you. Joining me, as always, is my little tiny demon cohort, as always, my own personal familiar. It's Tom. How you doing, Tom?
Hello, friends.
Tom, you're giving me +1 to cast. You should feel good about that. That's very nice of you. Also joining us this week is Jeff Egan. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
Hey, doing well, Vince. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, we are very glad to have you on. Obviously, we had you on War Games, where you performed quite strongly, I thought. So for people who are not familiar with that show, that is our bi-weekly war gaming debate show. Jeff was on there, and Jeff, that was like your first time on the show, on any of our shows, and you brought it. You brought some heat.
I brings the ruckus, man. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I was this close. Sudden death? I didn't even know that could happen on this show.
It was the first sudden death, yes, and it was a good one. That's a great episode, so people should go back and watch that.
Which, let me mention, we have another episode coming this weekend, and yours truly is competing on that show.
Whoa.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. This Friday is episode 6 of War Games, and we're finally going to get Tom on the show. I've been trying to keep him off, but somebody canceled, and I was like, fine, I guess. Let him on. No, very much looking forward to it, Tom. That should be a great show. So this Friday at 9 p.m., we'll do the next episode of War Games. So look forward to that. But this week, right now, this moment, here we are. Let's talk about what's going on in the world. So, Tom, let's talk about some news. It's a quiet week, but take us through some stuff.
Tau is coming. That's the major piece of GW news, is that we have confirmation that just Tau are everywhere. They've exploded all over all the magazines and all. They're coming, and they're coming in force. Do you have some images of those bad boys?
I do. There you go. There's that guy for you.
I don't think his gun's big enough.
It's really not. In a lot of the pictures, too, I don't have the other pictures, but in a lot of them they do like a forced perspective where they shoot him with, like from the gun, so the gun just looks absolutely ridiculously huge because it's a half an inch from the camera lens. Yeah. They're really trying to sell it based on the gun. Now, okay, Tom, did you play BattleTech with us back in the day?
I did.
Is it just me? I always hated BattleTech minis that didn't have arms. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that was a thing then too. Like some of the BattleTech minis just had LRM-20 instead of arm.
Yeah, like if you're gonna go Mad Cat, just go Mad Cat. Like they're real close.
Right.
Like they're not that far.
We are definitely in Mad Cat territory here. Yeah, 100%. But there you go. So yes, we are officially in the month of Tau. So that's going to be happening.
Yep.
Which will give people a chance to catch up on their AOS purchases. So that's fine. We've spent enough. We need a month to save up again.
We were in code black there for GW releases. There's just too much for the actual monies available.
Right.
One of the other rumors that kind of slipped through this apparently a couple minutes ago, and I missed it during the prep of the show, is we have a new magazine is rumored to be coming out, a new GW magazine that's aimed at bringing new people into the hobby, and so it'll come with a miniature apparently each week. I don't know. At least the first issue apparently has a mini, looks to be sold at a GW or GW and kiosk magazine shops, and it should contain a basic overview of the hobby and a free miniature. We don't know if this is going to be monthly. It's not real clear at this point.
So let me ask a question, and Jeff, you can take this first, okay? Somewhere in their mind, when they're planning all this out months ago, Age of Sigmar, was the idea of having a core, simple 4-page rules? Because that magazine is going to contain the rules in it, right? I mean, it's going to. We all know that. Yep. So was the idea we can sell our game on, on a magazine rack, right? We'll throw a mini in there. Who gets a mini in a magazine? That's crazy. People will buy it just to get the mini, and they'll get the whole game in a magazine. Were they thinking that X months ago when they set this up? What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I imagine that all of this has been planned out for a while. But it's interesting to me that they have gone through so many magazine changes over the past few years. I mean, from a $5 White Dwarf to a $6 White Dwarf to a very expensive one, and then they split it into two, then they brought it back together, and then they have Visions. I don't know. I think that they're both linked in that the small rule system that can be distilled down to 4 pages, and the idea that they could introduce the game in a single White Dwarf with one mini. Remember, they say you could play one mini on one mini if you want to.
Right.
I think that's the same model. That's the same business model at work. Whether or not they thought of them as working together from the start, or if it's just a happy coincidence that you could do both in the same place. I think they're both entry-level products, which is what they're really trying to sell with the Age of Sigmar release. They don't want a high cost of entry to be a barrier, and it was for all of 8th edition as far as I'm concerned.
And
right.
It still kind of is. I mean, granted, their rules are going to be like the herpes of the gaming community. Like, it's going to be everywhere. Like, they're just, like, spraying the rules out in everything that'll take a 4-page print publication.
You're really elevating this show already. I'm glad to see that.
You're welcome. I'm doing that just for you, friend. No, you know, I think they probably sat in the boardroom a couple months ago and were like, you know what is going to bring back a dying game? Let's sell that dying game in a dying medium. That's what we need.
Print. It's the way of the future. Yeah, absolutely. So basically what you're saying is that the boardroom at Nottingham looks basically, I mean, we could just watch Mad Men, and you could pretty much, that's it right there.
Yep, totally. With the whole misogyny and everything. Just all of it wholesale imported.
The views expressed by my co-host in no way reflect upon this show, and especially in regards to any slander and or libel if someone happens to translate this into paper. So there you go. All right.
Which no one would read.
Which no one would read, yes. Because obviously it's print media. It's dead. All right. Tom, what else do we have for rules or for rumors? Sorry.
I don't know. We have so Scarbrand obviously came rolling out, and obviously someone messed something up, or they realized that oh no, they caught us that we're charging overpriced, you know, like exceedingly high prices in Australia. Let's roll back the price. So there was a price rollback on the on Scarbrand, which I don't know how to respond to.
Yeah, I mean, he was like basically a mortgage payment in Australia and New Zealand. Like your choice.
Like car payment.
Yeah, absolutely. You could get like a reasonably priced hatchback or Scarbrand, and I don't think he's going to get you around as much. And so,
he's not even
obviously,
he's just walking.
Sure. I mean, well, obviously in Australia, all your cars, I assume, are actually quite expensive because they're custom-made cars from like the 60s that have been outfitted with armor and spikes and guys playing guitars shooting flames out of them and such. I just assume that Mad Max is basically a documentary film.
Or at least Gorkamorka.
Right. Yeah. But no, they rolled it back, and this is not the first time it's happened. Somebody pointed out that they have done this before on a couple other releases in different parts of the world and in Australia and New Zealand. I'm forced to wonder, is it that tricky with the currency conversion and the profit and the shipping and everything that this is still a problem? But when it happened before, they did refund people. So I guess that should give people hope.
Apparently math is hard.
You know, the thing that struck me about Scarbrand, and so I'm curious, I'll get some opinions from the two of you on this. So Scarbrand was actually, so he's 2 sprues in the box, right? Or whatever.
It's 3 sprues.
3 sprues, yeah, sorry. And one of them, or whatever, half of this model, however that works out, is the other Bloodthirster sprue. Like his body and that kind of stuff. And then like his different wings and his legs are the new stuff. Yep. So let me ask the following question. So we'll start with Jeff. Jeff, is that fair that when like does this make it smart even more that he's the most expensive non-forge roll mini? That he's a repack some percentage of?
Yeah, when the rumors were flying about the Bloodthirster coming out and then this new model, people were wondering if he would be an upgrade sprue, which in a sense he is, but they're charging prices as if he was a brand new sculpt. I far be it from me to bash GW because they've given me hours and hours and hours of enjoyment and kept me away from my family and loved ones for weekends at a time. So that's all good. But
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely. We can't thank them enough for that.
Yeah, sure. But they are really like, who are they targeting? Maybe 40K people. Maybe they're crazy enough. But I mean, I'm priced out at that level. I just can't. As a 28-year-old adult male in the richest country in the history of the world, I can't afford this plastic toy. So I don't know, man.
Sure.
They know that they're only going to sell one. To no, honestly, like like I don't mean like one ever. I mean like if you have a corn army, you're going to buy at maximum one. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And so I think they understand that they are creating, even if it's a fake scale, they are creating this price differentiation that we've talked about offering products at a larger range.
Sure.
And the way they do that is your solo characters and your things that are like exclusive, you're only going to need one of, and that are not necessary, which Scarbrand would fit in all of those categories.
Right, because there's been a million Bloodthirsters and there's a million knockoffs. So this guy's the definition of a luxury product. You could go back and find some plastic Bloodthirster out of Hero Quest for 10 cents and use it, although I bet that guy's really expensive just because people love Hero Quest, but, and use that if you really wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that this is the exact same pricing mentality that we've seen with Papa Bird and Bird Dog and all of those characters.
You leave Bird Dog alone.
Like he's referring to for our viewers who don't understand Tom's weird speak. He's speaking of the Knight Venator, Knight of Zeros box and the Lord Castellan. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever they're called, I don't know. Robots with weird animals.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that these boxes, these characters, okay, with some extra plastic, what we would previously call like extra things added to a sprue, like birds and things like that, you could get on sprues anyways. They're charging $40 a head for now, and that's for a man-sized or slightly larger than a man-sized figure. And I think that is the exact same mentality that they're approaching with that. Like, that's the exact same scale. For monster-size, unique minis like that, you're going to be looking at price points that are probably going to be in the 130 range.
Well, and here's what I'll say. So, two things to that. One, I love that Knight Venator with his little bird. And by the way, you can make both characters out of the one thing if you've just got, like, one extra prosecutor body, which is you have if you have the Age of Sigmar starter box. So, that's number one.
Congratulations, you just paid $20 for a character.
Worth every penny of it for that adorable bird. He's adorable. Number two, I think it's smart to have a product at a super high end, because now when they release like the next big giant monster special thing and they release it at 100, we're gonna be like, oh, it's cheap by comparison, right? It makes there's a scale to it, right?
It's so embarrassing that that's true.
It's absolutely true. That's how people's brains work. Like, it makes $90, $80, $100 characters seem more reasonable.
Yeah, it's the Freakonomics buying a medium. That's exactly what it is. What they like, people are going to always shy away from the large and go towards the medium. Well, what you do is you create a new ceiling so that the medium now is what previously was the large. It's exactly this is. Consumer economics.
Behavioral economics, yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
Yes, I knew what you meant. All right, cool. So enough about silly Scarbrand. He's out there, and if you have him, I would love to see him painted. I think he's a cool looking model. No hate on that. It's like
I'll be honest. If I started a corn army, I'd probably buy one.
Sure. Yeah, no issue there. All right, Tommy, what else we got?
Mantic they came out with a rules FAQ today.
Yes. They did.
And
go ahead.
And apparently, Mantic is catching on.
That is the rumor, yeah. So a couple things on Kings of War. They took over the. Well, I shouldn't say that. They didn't take over. The U.S. Masters circuit chose them. I believe 7 out of the 8 regions did officially vote Kings of War or something to that effect. I know there was some consternation around that in a couple of the regions, but for the most part, I think most people went there. And I know, Jeff, you had something you wanted to plug in on that.
Emphasis on the plug, right?
Aha, see how I set you up?
You're brilliant, Vince. What can I say? So the Unplugged Grand Tournament, which is it used to be a Warhammer Grand Tournament in Hartford, Connecticut, at Bradley Airport, International Airport, is officially announcing that we're running a Kings of War tournament in 2016. This is going to take place, we're thinking April, but anyone who's interested in getting some updates on that should go to unpluggedgamers.com.
There you go. So I will include the link for that. Yeah, ding. See, there it is. That
Oh, could you guys hear that? You guys heard that
I
ding?
hear the ding. Yes.
I'm on my friend's computer, and that just popped up. He got a text message or something.
That was actually the sound of that brilliant idea of going to Unplugged, of going to that website, occurring to our entire audience. That's what that was. It was the light bulb coming on. If I could have a lot of fun doing that. I'll put the link down below after the show. So if you're watching this not right now in real time, you will see a link down there. If you're watching it right now, come back later, and it'll be there like magic. Yeah, so awesome, very good. I get out that way quite often. We'll have to talk about that.
Oh, definitely, man.
So we'll talk after the show.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, the other big Kings War thing was, yes, they released their FAQ, and I read over it. It's fairly short. It was nice. I think it does show, Mantic has. I think one of the things that you certainly must congratulate Mantic on, and is that they seem very engaged with the community and willing to talk to them and sort of be very have a real public face and engagement with the people playing the game.
You mean court customers?
Well, I mean, yes, sure, but it's more than that. Like, everybody courts customers in some way. That's just marketing, right? And I know somebody might say all of this is marketing, but there is the idea of just, like, doing things that you don't necessarily need to do. They don't need to FAQ anything, right? Like, that's not, there's no part of this. They could just be friendly and happy and be courting customers and whatever. And I read over it. I liked it. I thought it was a really nice little FAQ. And here's one of, do you know, I read something, I just want to share this with both of you that I loved. I loved this answer. And if there's anything I love about Mantic and Kings of War, it's summed up in this answer. So the question was, it's possible, given the way charges work in Kings of War, I'm not going to go into detail, but whatever. Charges work slightly differently than if you're thinking of, like, 8th edition. And they brought up that, like, given the way charges work, it could be possible to have a unit with completely surrounded that cannot charge anybody it's actually facing. So, like, you've got one big block here, and a block here, and a block here, and a block here, and the enemy's surrounded, and they're, like, in 2 inches away, but this unit cannot charge any of them, just because of the oddities of angles and exactly how things worked out, right? And they're like, what do we do? How do we work this out? And the answer that was in there was, well, so if this happens, you should resolve it by having one of those units get charged. And any attempt to do this, to be the person and set up a situation where you have purposefully boxed a unit in so that even though you're standing 2 inches in front of it, your enemy cannot charge you, should be basically considered bad play. And that's just inappropriate. Like, I don't remember the exact word they used, but they really did use, like, a negative normative term, like, that's bad, stop it. And they said, look, just work it out. They let the unit charge one of the other units, scoot things around until it works. If you can't come to a decision, just roll a die. That's a great answer. Because those are exactly the kind of little rules corner cases that just drive me ballistic. And they had such a perfect answer, right? Of like, no, that's stupid. Of course, that's just, yeah, sure, the rules accidentally do that. But whatever, just, that's not how it's supposed to go. Use common sense.
Yeah, Johnny's, go somewhere else. Play a different game.
I mean, there's not, that is a difference. There's not that. But I appreciate your certainly. Jeff, what do you think about that? How do you feel about that kind of an answer in that sort of a situation?
Tom's answer or yours? Because I was thinking of myself as a recovering Johnny ever since I heard your. I'm way more in the Timmy file now, but yeah, I think that's good. Though to be fair, that's the sort of response that people would not accept in the community from Games Workshop. Hey, your opponent shouldn't be trying to do that sort of thing. Is not what people on warseer.com accept. So I mean. I'm with you. Like, I'm cool with that from any company, but let's not double standard. Everyone out there who wants to bash GW, we didn't accept it when they said just make it work. So I don't know. Yeah, but I do like a company being on top of its FAQs, no matter how they come down on it, resolving the issue. To be prompt with that is really important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So good on you. So that's out there. You can certainly go find it if you go to Mantic's website and whatnot. I'll see if I can dig up a link and put it down below. I got to remember all my links because I have to make notes, otherwise I forget it. But if you're a King's War player, hey, check it out. It's got some nice information in there for you. All right. Did we have any other news items, Tom?
We had one more thing.
All right, hit me.
I forgot it. I know there was one more thing on the list.
So when you went over the list at the top of the show and could have written it down, which I assumed you were, you didn't.
No. I memorized it. I just missed a lot.
You didn't. Proof. In fact, that is a false statement. You are wrong. You did not memorize it. That's fine. I have another thing I wanted to discuss. Maybe you'll remember it, or maybe not. It's okay. At any rate, so I would like to bring up an idea that was submitted to me by a subscriber this week, and I thought it was a very cool idea, and so I wanted to put it out here in the show and gather some feedback before we officially start this. Okay, so I haven't said this to the two of you either, so here we go. So Ashicus the Muse came to me, and he said, "Hey, I think it'd be neat if we ran a sort of community project." And here's the project. It's called Budget of Sigmar. Okay? And this will be a good segue into hobby time as well. And the basic conception is everybody gets X dollars. People can choose to participate. You sort of decide you're going to participate. We put it out there. We have some period where people can decide to get in on it. What you've got is some amount of money per month, a small amount of money vis-a-vis how much figs cost. But like $40, $50 a month you're allowed to spend on this army. Okay, and there's a couple ideas of restrictions, like your paints don't count toward it, but because you just assumed you have those, everything else counts, green stuff, basic material, anything like that. And you basically, to consider done, you've got to have 30 models and 100 wounds, and everybody puts together an army, and it's sort of like we just do it as a community project to build some cheap ass armies. And challenge ourselves to spend as little as possible, but to still build a fun, cool army over several months, right? So every month you get if you don't spend the money, you don't get it back. It's just like what stays in your pocket, of course, but you don't get it for the next month. Good on you. You get an extra couple bucks. So what do you two think of that idea, Jeff? What do you think of the Budget of Sigmar sort of competition?
I like it because it reminds me of Tale of Painters. And if you remember the original Tale of Painters, I think they started with a budget, a monetary amount, or at least one of the incarnations of that in White Dwarf. They did have a budget. And they've had some spin-off versions of Tale of Painters in which they've had a certain amount of budgets. And they would buy battalions and stuff to maximize their dollars. I like it. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I bet you'd get a lot of hits from the audience for that sort of project, because it's what we're doing anyways, but it gives a little bit more focus to it.
Like, would you be allowed to use eBay?
Yes, absolutely. Like, you can get them anywhere you want. You can get the figs anywhere you want. eBay, secondhand, beat a kid up in the street walking out of a Games Workshop store, whatever happens, that's fine.
Can you generate more money? So if you take your $50 for a month and spend 40 of it on a lot of minis and then resell those on eBay, can you increase your actual spending?
No, you cannot.
Or am I playing a different game?
You're playing a different game. That's a different game. No, there's just a hard cap. Whatever you don't spend for that month is lost, right? So you can spend up to your maximum each month, but then next month you start with, it's always the same amount, 40, 50 bucks, whatever. And the goal is, it's not first to the end wins. It's sort of, that's what you get, that's the finish line. 30 models, 100 wounds, something like that, maybe both. And at the end, we kind of put up all the armies and have a big, sort of show. Maybe a couple different prizes are awarded, like first done and best painted and best conversion and coolest theme and whatever. You do all sorts of fun little community, no prizes, as it were. So there you go. All right, well, my question is to all of you out there watching, I want feedback on this. I think it's a cool idea. Do you think it's a cool idea? Down here. Put it in there. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. Would you be interested in participating in it? That kind of thing. I'm looking for feedback. So I'll probably do a separate video on this as well once I kind of get thoughts together. And if anybody has any other cool ideas or additions they want to add, hey, put that in there too. That'd be super cool. So there we go. So speaking of building armies and projects, let's go to hobby time. So Jeff, I believe you sent me some photos.
I did, yeah.
For what you've been working on.
So I'm prepping. Me and a couple of my buddies, Peyton Shipman, by the way, who just won the Crossroads GT, swept all the categories, painting, sports, every single thing, owned it. He's going to be going out with me, and my friend Greg Person. The three of us, Unplugged gamers from our club, are going to be heading out to Illinois to the Holy Wars GT. And so what you got up on the screen there, Vince, is a Horus Heresy character model. It's like Corback something.
Super gross Nurgle guy, I think is his name.
Right. I know how much you love Nurgle.
Yes. Pussy McGross body. Yeah.
Yeah, but this guy's ripping out guts. Oh man, love it. And that stupid smile maw that he's got going on, I love it. So this is gonna be my great unclean one. If we're doing a budget hobby thing, I went in the opposite direction and did a 1% army project log thing this week. But yeah, I've been thinking about buying this for a while, and I pulled the trigger on it. I'm really excited to paint it up when it comes in.
You know, I love a lot of the Forge World models. It's just like I'm not motivated to use them. I wish they would make. I wish they'd get on making the War Scrolls for some of the other, like monsters and other unique characters and things. I've heard they're coming, but I'd like to see them.
Forge World, here's that other piece of news.
Wow.
You have 3.5 hours to go get free shipping on 100 pounds from Forge World.
Why do you think I bought this yesterday, boss?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. For those that are interested, for the next 3.5 hours from right now, you can still buy from Forge World and get free shipping.
Well, there you go.
Waste some money. Do it.
All right, so that's coming for you. Now, you ordered it. It has not shown up yet, correct?
No, I ordered it last night thinking that the offer that Tom just described was expiring at midnight because I can't read the date.
I could actually be wrong. It possibly could have expired 2.5 hours ago because it was midnight.
Yeah, Greenwich Mean, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so I could actually be wrong, and you could get gypped out of the 15% shipping if you did a purchase. So you may want to check on that.
Yeah, there'll be a point at which you realize that you get the voucher or not when you go through. I just did this yesterday, so they won't cheat you out of it. You'll see.
All right, I have to switch this image because I'm becoming disgusted. All right. So here we go. So this is I believe something that is being worked on.
Yeah, my friends watching this right now are shrieking at the yellow light that I used. I'm sorry, guys. What do you want? I don't have a good photo box. But yeah, this is a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. It's really work in progress. I'm about halfway through, but one of the colors that I'm using, well, two of the colors are that bluish white. That's going to be a predominant color, and the second one is, of course, Scorpion Green, because why would you go with any other secondary color? So yeah, that's what I'm working on. It's going to be a Nurgle army, and I had to get the Shaggoth to look more Nurgly, so Scorpion Green everywhere was the solution to that.
I have heard that you are a big fan of Scorpion Green. It's come up, yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. Yeah, but love this old model. Getting into resin's a pain, and if it weren't Nurgle, I would be probably returning it because of all the little pock marks and stuff.
Sure.
But it works on a Nurgle army, I think.
That is truly the worst part about a fine cast resin model is those pock marks. Yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right, great. So then, Tom, I think this leads us to your hobby time thing.
Well,
that's a big spider.
It is a big spider. So I've started my Arachnarok. There's still a lot of work there to do, but yeah. And this was technically my first airbrush project as well. So that lighting, it's real hard to kind of see the transitions, but they are there. This was kind of a lazy shot because Vince was giving me a hard time because I wasn't actually sending photos. I was just holding things up in front of a camera where nobody could see.
Well, it's what I'm about to do. So I really feel like, that's for later. I really feel like that's.
I think there was one more photo in there.
Was there one more? Yeah, there
should have been. There should have been a butt.
This is for your Spider Rider army, right, Tom?
Yeah, this is my Force Goblins. Yep.
Awesome.
So,
This is your previous progress picture or something?
yeah, that was a prior progress picture. You can see the transitions better in that one, is what I was
Gotcha.
talking
Well, there you go. All right, good stuff.
Cool.
Very nice work. So for me, I'm going to just hold it up because I'm lazy and I didn't take photos of my stuff because it's not done yet. But I am putting another one of these guys, which I have too many of, to good use. This is going to be my my Bretonnian Lord on Hippogriff. And I kept his wings nice and separate because I wanted his wings to be separate so I could paint them. And so there you go. He'll be like that. I don't have a Lord on Hippogriff, and now I do. See? Nice little birdie head. Dragon head gone, birdie head in. There you go.
Cool.
So very exciting. He's coming along well. Should be finished up in a day or two. All right. So that's my hobby time. But what are you working on? As always, we'd love to see it. We always love to see photos or anything like that. If you're doing work, send them on into us. We're always glad to take a look, and we'll share it on the show and stuff like that. So, because what are we all about? Eliminating gray miniatures. My goal in life is to eliminate the plague of gray miniatures or primed miniatures. That's my goal. Painted miniatures. All right. So let's move to our feature segment for this week. And this week we're going to turn to winners and losers. So since we're in a transition period here still, I think 3 months in is certainly still counting as a transition period, I thought it would be fun to turn to the idea of some of the winners and losers in the edition changes. So obviously with every change of Warhammer editions, what was once good may no longer be so, and many of us can suddenly find that our armies are not quite as good as they used to be because all of the overpowered things we might have stocked up on previously are now junk, or if we're lucky and bought a bunch of crap, suddenly it's like hitting the jackpot. We call that the Ushopti bet. So just 3 editions of garbage, and then all of a sudden great. That's all it takes. So now we're going to turn to that. So we're going to turn to winners and losers. And tonight we're going to be talking about the Order faction. So I thought we'd split these up by faction. We'll probably come back to this segment a couple times in the future. And we're going to kind of go by category. We're going to give a winner and a loser in each category. So I'm going to throw it around to each of you, and you can, well, I'll give the category, and then you can give me your winner and your loser and why. Okay? And then we'll just cycle through a whole bunch of times. And obviously, as with all of these things, what we really want is for you to tell us how wrong we are. So that's what I mean by that is, if you disagree, you think we picked a winner that isn't a winner, or a loser that isn't a loser, or you've got your own picks, put them in the comments below, as always. And I always love to see what people think about our choices and what their own choices would be. So let's begin. Winners and losers. We're going to start out with the most simple, the most humble of all the models, especially in the Order army, and that is the infantry. The old foot sloggers, the 11 Bravo bullet catcher. All right, so Jeff, start us off. Infantry, winner, loser.
All right, so winners in the infantry category. This one's a little strange. I'm not sure if anyone will agree with me here, but I went for the Ironbreaker, and my reasoning, the Dwarf Ironbreaker. And that's because it really does what that unit, to my mind, is supposed to do with the fluff. It's got a 4-up save, and if it doesn't run or charge in that turn, it can re-roll its armor saves. It's called shield walling. And it also ignores enemy rend unless it is -2 or greater. So to my mind, that's a unit, used to be pretty bad in 8th edition, but here in Age of Sigmar, it really does hold the center of the board and, just allow you to grind for a long period of time and delay while maybe your Dwarf War Machines do a little bit more damage. For losers, I elected to choose the White Lions from the High Elf book. Tom, I hear you groaning there.
No,
they used to be.
I think it's legit. No, I do.
No, yeah. All right. So they used to be, to my mind, the best of the High Elf infantry. They were a regular appearance in the ETC High Elf lists and the most competitive 8th edition tournaments, and they were super choppy. and they were can openers. They had great what is it called? Armor piercing. I almost forgot what Ren used to be called. But now I think they're just okay. They're not terrible, terrible, terrible. But I think coming from where they were, they've fallen quite a bit. So now they do 2 attacks, which is good. But they're only 1 damage attack, and their rend is only 1, like 1. So I don't know. And also they get a reroll of 1 for armor saves against shooting, which is okay. Just in a world where you know, a lot of the infantry took a big step up, especially when you take a big number. I think White Lions, especially not being able to attack first like they used to. Now you got common goblins running in there. If they choose the common goblin unit first to attack, you're losing a bunch of White Lions, and that just never would have happened in 8th edition.
All right. I like it. I like both those choices, both very strong. I definitely agree on your winner. Like never underestimate an armor reroll. Like rerolling an armor save is so ridiculous, especially if they happen to take up that shield wall on cover. Those guys just aren't moving, right? Like they are just unbelievably stuck in there. So I love it. All right, Tommy, what about yourself, man?
So my default is Phoenix Guard, because you're never gonna meet a tougher like foot soldier and infantry. Like, it's just not possible. They're ridiculous. But I feel like they were good in the prior edition, so I don't consider that necessarily a big win. Does that make sense? And so, like, that's while that's my gut, that's not what my choice is. And it's actually, ironically, it's also in High Elves. And my big winner that I chose, interestingly enough, was Swordmasters.
You bastard.
Yep. And you know I'm right. And you know I'm right.
Sure.
Because so Swordmasters are, so like we just read the White Lion stats. So 2 attacks, they're 3 up, -1 rend, 1 damage. So that looks very close to the White Lion stats. The difference is they reroll 1s to hit when attacking. Okay. So these are already a 4-up model that's rerolling 1s to hit. So they're hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, and with the number of, here's the other hidden thing with high elf units that most people don't see. There's a lot of synergy of +1s to hit and rerolls. Like just strewn throughout all of their leadership and all of their named characters and stuff like that. And so that 3-up can easily become a 2-up rerollable 1s. Like, that's not a joke in this army. And then on top of that, they reroll all saves for at least the shooting phase. So they are going to get a better than average chance of actually closing with the enemy. And to top that off, they actually re-roll any 1s they do with a musician on their charge. So the significance of this being they're never going to fail that 3-inch charge, like I have seen some units do. They are always going to, like, they're always going to generally clear that, kind of average distance. They're more reliable for those charges. So just a combination of all those things, and compare that to where they were in 8th edition. I mean, for me, they just took this huge leap forward.
Sure. Where they were in 8th edition, they certainly weren't on tables. I'm not
right.
sure where they were hiding. In Island of Blood box sets, I know that, but beyond that, I'm not sure.
On sprue in Island of Blood box sets.
Yeah.
And then for me, the big losers was actually just plain old average skinks.
Plain old skinks. That's a good pick.
That plain old skinks, because when I look through the Lizardmen list, like, I don't know any world where I play skinks and I choose regular skinks over chameleon skinks. Like, assuming I'm not limited on the upper limit of my scroll, I don't know a world where I ever choose regular skinks, because chameleons have better range, they have better armor and terrain, they can teleport around the board, they have poison for demons. I mean, like, it's just all over the place. The only thing that regular skinks beat them for is summoning, and they get summoned with regular skinks than chameleon skinks. But I just, I think that for, like, the mighty have fallen.
All right, fair enough. All right, my picks. Fortunately, I had a backup on anything I picked that was high elf, because I knew you'd be just in case. So my pick is going to be a similar greatsword for best. Is going to be a similar greatsword unit, and that's actually Empire Greatswords, who I've always loved and always thought had amazing models. And in the previous edition, you never saw them because they were just too expensive. Right, like point per guy. The problem was you might as well just get a halberdier out there, because you can get 2 halberdiers for every 1 greatsword. That math just doesn't work. right? And they weren't good enough for their points cost previously. Well, hey, now that's not an issue. So I love me some greatswords, and here's what I love about them. It is really not difficult to make them hit on a 1-up and wound on a 2-up, more or less all the time. Like, that is not tough combo building. I mean, we're literally talking about, like, 2 things are kind of happening, and they're on 1-up, 2-up. And they are just going to shred some stuff when that happens. So I really like that because they, again, good greatsword unit, good rend, all that sort of thing going on. So I'm a particular fan of them now, especially because I think they do have amazing synergies. Worst, this one was easy for me, and I'm glad neither of you picked it, and that is Witch Elves. Witch Elves are garbage now. Garbage! I am sorry if you, they're garbage. I can't even begin to encapsulate how terrible these things are. So they're like 3-up, 4-up with no rend and 1 damage and 2 attacks, and they go to 3 attacks fairly easily. And that's it. They have no save. They're not particular. I mean, they're kind of fast, but they're not particularly fast. And the key about having no save, about having a save of, is that never improves. It can't improve. You Mystic Shield them, their save is 0. They do not get a save. So they just die in bucket loads all the time. And they don't even do that much damage. Truly disheartening. You want to talk about falling far, right? I mean, I don't know that they were the best. They weren't, but they were good, and certainly they had their uses, especially under several compacts previously. But now, woo! The mighty have fallen indeed. Sorry, Witch Elves, you're still beautiful. Nothing but love for the model. You'll always be my favorite. All right. So there we go. Winners and losers infantry. As always, we want to see yours down below. Jeff, you're going to start us off. Round 2, winners and losers cavalry. Go ahead.
All right. My winner for cavalry, sorry, Tom, I might have stolen yours. We'll see.
No, you're damn right. I already know what you're going to say, and you're damn
Illyrian
right.
Reavers! Illyrian Reavers! Yup. We're speaking the same language. Those cats are boss. Oh, my God. They don't have a huge amount of damage. It's just 1, but they never had that before. But now what they never did before, is shoot 3 times when they're outside of combat range, outside of 3 inches. And they get to make a 2d6 move either before or after they shoot. And they've got a 16-inch range on their shots, and they move 14 inches. These guys are they're ghosts. They're everywhere. And they're peppering shots at war machines or things with low armor saves. It's amazing. Really love that they actually play like a unit of fast cav might play. That's kind of a theme in my winners, I think, throughout the Age of Sigmar. That we're talking about here is each of these units that really won, I think, play much more like the fluff descriptions of them. As for losers, I went here with Demigryphs, which hurts my heart to say because I love those models quite a bit. But they've got a low damage of 1 and a worse armor save than they ever had by far. It's a 4-up save now. And their special rules are just really okay. They're just not the hard-hitting monstrous cavalry unit that they used to be. I think they've come down significantly in Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, I like that. Do you think that, if we can, imagine Demigryphs in the Void. Imagine there were no 8th edition Demigryphs, and you just read the Age of Sigmar ones. Would you think, yeah, that's pretty decent in the world? That's okay. Or, is it the fact that they were just the best previously, and once you go to average, it's like, man, it's not impressive anymore?
Yeah, that might be the case. And I mean, I'm always a more fluffy gamer, so I take units that I like to paint. Your 2 losers from 8th edition that became winners were Sword Masters and Great Swords. I had units of 30 of each of them in 8th edition armies that I ran at tournaments. Maybe that's why I never won the Crossroads GT.
Yes.
Exactly. That's where they were. I bought them all off of you on the internet, Tom, and that's where they appeared. But yeah, it's possible. Yeah, without that benchmark. But if I think about a winner and loser, I think of where do they start and where do they arrive. And I
right.
think
Sure. No, it makes total sense. I'm with it. I'm totally with it.
Yeah.
All right, Tom.
Reavers, clearly, they are by far they are the winner out of the pack. They came riding out ahead of everybody. For losers, I actually went a kind of a different direction. I didn't do like how far they've traveled. I went for like the completely like unimpressed when I read them. And for me, that was Empire Knights. Go read a gander at Empire Knights. They do not compete in any world with almost any other calf. Period. They're like wounding on 5-up or hitting on 5-up or something. Like just something redonkulous that calves should not be doing. Let me pull them up real quick. Like it was just.
Yes, I'll second you here.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the viewers already did because so Dan said, "What about Reichsguard Knights? They used to kick ass. Now they get their ass kicked." And
Yeah.
I agree. Like all the Imperial Knights, because they're basically like 4-up, no rend, 1 damage, 2 damage if they charge when they have the lance. You know, I mean, it's the least impressive stat line. They're not tough enough. They're not hard hitting enough. They don't do enough. The world of the Wall of Steel from the Empire, right? Of like the 1-up wall. We have left that world behind for sure.
Well, and how about the fact that bunkers aren't a thing? So, you know, a cheap knight unit that you could house your units in and then buff up, or your characters in and then buff up, is not a tactic that is viable anymore. So, yeah, no place.
Right. Yep, totally agree. All right, so mine, I'm happy to say we're different for both of you. So, for my best, I have, and there is no, like, look, your Ilarian Reavers are really good. I'll agree. But they weren't worthless before. I mean, I'm not saying they were great. They were at best average before, okay? Now they're great. But what I picked went from, I mean, the worst gutter trash imaginable, okay, to pretty good. And that is Questing Knights, Bretonnian Questing Knights. These guys have been sitting on the benches for years now, just waiting, just biding their time. Man, they're great now. They came up from utter garbage. That was just, you never played it. Last time I saw them on a battle report was probably like 2011, right after 8th edition started, and Once Bitten was still running like a small group of them, because we didn't know that they were so god-awful yet. They are 10 times better now. They're great cav. And very damaging, and everything I love about them. They're wonderful. And then my worst is Doomfires. Okay? Yep. Because, again, it's the same. I think it's honestly the same thing with the Demigryphs. Like, when I look at those Doomfires, yeah, they can still spell. They can still cast a spell. And anybody with an ability to cast magic in Age of Sigmar, certainly that's potent and not to be just, it's not nothing. Okay? But they used to also be, like, pretty frightening if they could get in melee with lighter units and stuff like that, putting out all these poison attacks and all this garbage. They had this incredible ward save and just all these different things going on. And now they're just like, they're at best. And they fell way down. Too often it's easy for them to get caught and killed. They can't pull their old garbage fast cavalry shenanigans and be around and out of line of sight. And now the second anything gets their hands on them, that's just 5 dead dumb elves on horses. That's the end of that situation. So that's my pick. All right. So good rounds there as always. Again, want to see all your picks. All right, next one. Jeff, start us off. Best and worst on War Machines.
All right, so my War Machine pick for winner was the Celestial Huracanum, which is awesome. I once met a guy who went literally insane trying to paint a Celestial Huracanum. Haven't heard from him since. But now it's probably worth finishing the model because they give +1 to hit to nearby units of free peoples, so Empire troops. Maybe Bretonnians. Are Bretonnians free peoples as well, Vince? You know that.
They are, my friend. As a matter of fact, okay. That Huracanum bonuses like pretty much almost all of the Bretonnian army.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so that's a good synergy there. But of course it does more than that. It's got way more wounds than it did before. It's got 11 of them. And it can do up to 3 magical shooting attacks when it's unwounded that do D6 mortal wounds each. when they get through. And there's also a spell that you can cast with the Celestial Arcanum, and it's kind of like a Russian roulette. It's a Cometa Casadora, which works similar to the way it used to work, except now you cast a spell. If you get it off, you roll a d6. You pick a unit within 18 inches or some amount of inches. Your opponent picks a unit within 18 inches of the Huracanum. And then you roll a d6, and on a 4-up, your unit that you selected takes d6 mortal wounds. And on a 1 to 3, your opponent's choice, probably your unit, takes that damage. So that's another cool, risky, late-game decision-making thing that you could do. It's a lot of fun, and I think it makes the Celestial Huracanum a big winner. As for losers in War Machines, here's the thing. It's hard to find a bad War Machine in Age of Sigmar. Yep. They're all so freaking good. But you know who lost? You know who managed to create a garbage War Machine? The Empire, who built a mortar that is completely useless, just like it was throughout most of 8th edition when they got that book change. It's just horrendous. It hits on a 2, great, fine. Wounds on a 3, great, fine. It does D3 wounds, -1 rend, and it's not even mortal wounds. Compare this to any other War Machine. Trebuchets, Hellblaster volley guns, all the dwarf stuff, all the Chaos Dwarf stuff, Dreadquake mortars and Earthshakers. I'm playing against my friend's Chaos Dwarf Age of Sigmar army, and he's just roasting me with his War Machines. And the mortar is D3, not even mortal wounds. I can't wrap my head around it.
In defense of the mortar, I actually was originally going to choose the mortar. And then I realized that if the unit that you're dropping those mortars on, which realistically you're going to hit that 2-up, 3-up fairly regularly, if it's 20 or more models, which is not too abnormal for large blocks, you're dropping 2d6 wounds.
Oh, is that a special rule? Maybe I didn't see that.
Yeah. So it goes from a d3 to 2d6 wounds.
Yes.
Yeah, but 20 models, where this game is heading, that's not going to be common.
It's true, but let me just, that could be half of a unit.
Yeah, that's true. But you're still around -1.
It's true.
Yeah.
But
that does actually qualify a lot. I did not see that text. So is that under the crew? Maybe I must have missed that when I was.
No, it's under the
crew. Yeah.
Okay, my mistake.
You're fine. It's still it's past the crew thing, especially if you're looking at the app or whatever. You've got to go War Machine thing. Crew. Rule, it's kind of split up weirdly. Anyway, I still agree it's fairly underwhelming, and certainly there are better choices. So, you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So I am with that choice. I'm okay with that. I support this. All right, Tom, what do you got?
I probably shouldn't have chosen this because this was a winner in the last edition too. But damn it, the Steam Tank wins again. If you look at the Steam Tank, let's start off with the fact that it's a 12 wounds, 3-up save model. Okay?
Sure.
And on top of that, it's throwing out, its Steam Cannon, which is doing a D6 wounds. It has the Steam Gun, which is a shorter range, and you can fire all of these, by the way. It has 4 different range attacks, and the way that it's worded in the description, you can have all 4 of those range attacks. There's no or decision making in this.
Correct.
Some can have this and this and this. It's just as far as War Machines go, obviously the Huracanum, it is out there. Huracanum obviously has come a lot farther, but man, I saw that 3-up save, and it's just hard to say no to that. And so you just don't see that on War Machines. You don't see that on most name characters. Let's just say it that way. So to have it on a War Machine, and it's putting out damage, and it's 12 wounds, so it's gonna be staying out there. It's not like a Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower that has 2 wounds on it. Like a 4-up save, with the dudes that have a 6-up save. This thing has 12 wounds and it's at 3-up the entire time. So it's really good. For the loser, originally, like I said, I was going to choose the mortar, but I ended up on the Hellstorm rocket battery because it has 3 wounds total, 6-up save to reduce the crew, and its damage, even though it's a 6 or a D6 wounds, it scales down with however many models you lose, which to me that's painful. but on top of that, it has a minimum range, and so like it has a window of effectiveness, and on top of that window of effectiveness, it has a scaling reduction of effectiveness, and on top of that, it only has 3 wounds at a 6-up save. So man, that's just like that's a brutal that's as far as like. I would say like the eagle, like the claw bolt throwers for the elves, at only 2 wounds at a very similar situation. The difference is the damage doesn't scale at all. It's a D3 across the board, and it can be buffed by all the elven buffs. And so you can be like you could hit it with the Hand of Glory buff spell, so it rerolls all hit and wound damage, hits and wounds, and things like that. So you're multi-attacking, hitting and wound, rerolling all hits and all wounds, and things like that. So the things in the army for me bring up the high elven bolt thrower. But there's just you don't see those types of things, or not as easily, obviously, with the Hellstorm rocket battery.
Wow, controversial, because I'll go right into my picks. Best winner, Hellstorm rocket battery. You're full of shit. That is what I'll say right now. That thing is badass, and I love it. It was the
your
worst.
5-up hit. Your 5-up hit on a war machine.
It's always 4-up because you're always going to shoot at the same thing. And you get 1 to hit if you fire all your rockets at the same target, which you're going to do every time.
Wow.
You're always going to shoot 3 rockets. Yeah, I'll take 3 on a 4-up because you know what? That's 3d6 damage. That thing hits. It's 3 cannonballs it puts in the air. That's what it's shooting. It's shooting 3 cannonballs on a 4-up, 3-up. Okay.
With a minimum range and a 6-up save to reduce the damage
for 1 extra shot.
Say what?
It's 1 worse to wound than a cannon for 1 extra shot. That's what it is. Cannons are 4-up, 2-up, -2, D6. Hellstorm and they can fire twice with max crew. Hellstorm rocket battery, same max crew, 3 shots. The turn will come when you land all 3, and that character you hit is a smoking pile of ash. And I know this is the case because I've seen it happen many times. You got to think of this thing like the ultimate character assassination tool, because that's what it is, man. This thing just makes rubble out of single models.
No, especially if you move them within 10 inches of it.
Again, yeah, sure. It's not that there's no downsides. It's this thing was garbage. Now it's good. It came a lot better. I didn't say it's the best, but it's a big winner. Take off, and that leads me to my loser, Hellblaster Volley Gun. Let me tell you right now, people, this is 1 kit. Pop that Hellblaster right off the top. Put the rocket you were using, if you still know where that piece is, right on top, because that Hellblaster, garbage. That thing is garbage now. It's, you choose how many decks you want to fire. If you roll doubles, it locks up, doesn't fire, does nothing. So it's basically a Skaven weapon now, because you get your fear in doubles. If you roll 3 decks, or if you roll, you get 3d6 shots theoretically, but if you get doubles, that's when it locks, which will happen all the time, like fully almost half the time. It's the statistics of getting doubles. So welcome to that thing not shooting very often. And if you only roll 2, hence lowering your chances of doubles significantly, yay for your average 6 to 7 shots that hit on, if you're lucky, like 3-up, 3-up, -1, 1 damage. So you get an average of 1 through 1 damage. That's what that thing puts out on average after all the math computes. Woo! Look out for that thing. I mean, like, that thing used to reduce units to rubble, right? Like, there was a unit, and now there's not a unit. Now there's a unit, and then there's 1 less guy. That is the end of the Hellblaster Volley Gun firing now. So take it off. That's what I'm saying. Hellstorm, here we come. All right. So there we go. All right. Controversial choices in the War Machine round. Clearly, the blood runs high.
Let me just say this though. I agree with Jeffrey in that it's really hard to choose a bad War Machine.
Sure. They're all
in general. There's just so much good. Yeah.
Tom, that's a perfect segue to. Sorry, Vince, I'm stepping over your feed line here, but that's a perfect segue to my losers in the monster section, which is where we're heading now, right?
It is where we're heading now. Take us away, sir.
I refused to pick a loser in the monster category because all the monsters are winners. You know why? Because they were all horrendous. Not all. Many that weren't Dark Elf monsters were pretty horrendous in the past few editions of Warhammer, and less so in 7th edition, but definitely in 8th, with infantry being the rule, steadfast, all that. But now, I think that monsters are just fantastic. I looked through the War Scrolls and tried to find a really bad monster. I couldn't find one. So
You didn't look hard enough.
all right, we'll get to yours in a second. But my winner, when it comes to monster, I do think there's a clear winner, and that is the Bastillodon. This guy has a nasty shooting attack. It's 24-inch range, 2d6 shots, 3s to hit, and 4s to wound, but it does 2 damage each. And what's more, it's super survivable. It's got 8 wounds, which is deceivingly low, because it's got a 3-up save, so stick it in cover, and it's got a 2-up. And you can be doing that because 24-inch range on its shot. And then it ignores enemy rend all the time, just straight up. And it's got a 4+ ward save against mortal wounds. This is just something that I never saw on the table in my 8th edition games against Lizardmen, and it seems like it's totally beyond viable. It's very good in Age of Sigmar now.
I like it. I like it. All right, solid. I do have a loser, but we can get through it. Tom, well, let's see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably take your loser because I know what you're gonna say, and I'm gonna agree with you.
What is it? What is it?
So for my winner, let's start here. And I may even take your winner. To me, the model that went the farthest distance, and by the way, eBay attests to this because you see the prices shot up through the roof on the bits for this, was Flamespire Phoenixes.
I had a second choice in mind, figuring you would pick it as well.
Yep, exactly. And I probably had your second monster in mind as well. I actually did the same thing. It's funny. So the Flamespire Phoenix, man, when was the last time you saw one of these on the table? Let me ask that. And let me tell you, it's not real often, at least in 8th edition. Because if people had the points, they bought a second Frost Phoenix. That was the go-to. They wouldn't buy a Flamespire. And if you put a Flamespire, it's because you already had 2 Frost Phoenixes on the table, and you're putting an anointed of a Surin on a Frost or on a Flame Phoenix because that's the only thing they would ride. That's the only reason why you put a Flame Phoenix on the table previously. Now it's a 12 wound monster, basically a 4-up save because people are going to be casting spells around it. That's happening. You can have it mounted, okay. If it's mounted, it gains the ward save of the Phoenix Guard. So now it's a 4-up armor, 4-up ward save. Okay? When it moves, it does mortal wounds against a unit it flies over, starting at a d6 mortal wounds. So when this bad boy retreats, he's still doing mortal wounds to people when he pulls out of combat.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, pulls out is whatever. He could be retreating over other enemies just to put himself in a new position as long as he ends up more than 3 inches away.
Yeah, and he's dropping backwards. Yeah, he's dropping d6 mortal wounds when he does that. And and his attacks are nothing to slouch at. He starts up at 6-up wounds, or 6-up 6-up attacks, and he's doing 4-up, 3-up, -1 rend, 2 damage. So I mean, against Chafe and against non-meaty, non-armor things, he's going to chew through some enemies. Obviously, bringing the Phoenix Halberd is only going to exacerbate this a little bit. It's not going to be real good, but it's going to be better than nothing. But all of that would be awesome if it weren't the fact that he respawns after he's died. So you put
truly
12,
the most ridiculous thing, yes.
Yeah, you put 12 wounds on this guy who already had a 4-up armor and a 4-up ward, okay? And at the start of your
theoretically, you put something like 36 wounds on him to get him to this point, if statistics were to work out perfectly.
And you roll a dice on your next hero phase on a 4-up, you reset him up with all of his wounds farther than 9 inches from another enemy on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. You just respawn somewhere. It is off the hook for a model. So yeah, he is, in my mind, the clear winner. Both in how far he has come and in raw, just ass beater power. All of that to say, there is a loser, and that loser, I hate to say, is the Charybdis.
Damn it, Tom. Yes, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I told you, I'm in your head.
Fine, I know.
No, like he's not bad, but like
He's pretty bad.
I'll let you go into some of this, but like let me just say this: I can't see an instance where I'm ever gonna take him over a Hydra, because a Hydra was my number 2. Hydras are just so good comparatively, and the reality is that like this guy's just not bringing it. Like his howl is terrible. He's he can kind of heal a wound on a 6, which is pretty worthless. Like he should be like an offensive, like a more offensive Hydra, and he's just not. He's like a bad semi-defensive Hydra. I don't know. It's just terrible. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I'll just slowing right into mine and pick that up. Charybdis was my pick for worst as well. He's garbage because he has a combination of no rend and no damage.
Oh,
right.
good.
And like I mean, there is some rend there, but like his main
-1.
attack is -1 rend. His best damage is 2 on a decreasing number of attacks. Like that's the one that actually does 2 damage is the one that gets hurt in the number of attacks it makes as he gets wounded. So as this guy gets wounded, he just becomes he's already not very good. Then he really becomes worthless because he has nothing he can do. He's not like some of the dragons where they still get like their X bites that are doing the D6 damage and that never goes down, right? That's whatever. And then on top of that, his like spiked attack, his variable attack, and then the handler's whips, no rend, 1 damage. His little limbs, 2 attacks, 1 rend, 1 damage. Look out for that. Like this guy is just he's garbage. And, you know, his special rules are okay. It's exactly what you said. They're all right. He kind of heals sometimes. Like, it's fine. You know,
Listen to this.
So bad.
Listen to this. Feast of Bones. Roll a die each time a Charybdis slays a model only with its fang tentacles. On a 6, it heals a wound. Are you kidding?
right, yeah.
Horrible.
So, like, I don't even know, like 1 in 100 wounds or something that this thing deals, it gets to heal a wound. Well, hot you do. That seems roughly equivalent to a Flame Phoenix springing back up to 14 wounds on a 50-50 coin flip. Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, with a ward save and with doing mortal runes, like it's bonkers.
So so here's my winner. And this might be a bit, it certainly hasn't traveled the distance of the Flame Phoenix, but I think it bears mentioning because I think it is really a big winner. And that is the Engine of the Gods Stegodon, Captain Time Walk. All right, let us not underestimate the power of this thing.
It's basically a time walk.
It's basically a time walk. For those of you who might have read Mike Flores' articles on Magic, you may get that joke. So, at any rate, it's basically a time walk. The Stegodon Engine of the Gods, I mean, it was fine. It's not like they were ever that terrible. Not that they were that great either. They were at best average. But now, I mean, the person who won Clash had 2 of these, and on day 2, which was 10 rounds of play, right, played 14 rounds. So consider that. Consider the raw power of that. Their opponent had 10 rounds. They took 14. All right? So, opponents. Yeah, they won. Shocker. You know, so, like, my point is just what this thing lets you do is so gross. Now, it's very random because it has to do on you basically rolling a really good D&D character is how you get your time walks. But that being said, it's pretty bonkers. Like, that thing was, like I said, at best okay. It certainly wasn't doing that before. You can win them back solely on the, you know, sort of the activation of this thing landing at the right time now. So I think that's worth mentioning. All right. Okay. The final category. It's the final countdown, as Europe has told us. So here we go. What do we close on? We're going to close on special characters, of course. Tommy's favorite. What most people love to hate, and I hate that Tom loves. All right, so Jeff, start us off. Special characters, winners and losers.
All right, so here I guarantee I would bet any sum of money that I've picked 2 things that you guys have not picked.
This is going to be different, I'm sure.
Yeah, there are so many of them for one, and my choices were kind of self-indulgent, so I apologize. But they're Jeff Egan's biggest winners and biggest losers. So my biggest winner was Marius Leitdorf, because as I said, I'm a recovering Johnny and an emerging Timmy in this world of Age of Sigmar, and I love Marius Leitdorf. I like the stupid rules. I like the talk to your horse, pretend to ride it. I like that. I think it's a lot of fun. And most serious tournaments are just making it a roll or just giving it to you or whatever. But I love the fluff. And Marius Leitdorf, the Mad Count, he's pretty tasty on the table. He's got 6 wounds, a 4-up save, which is fine for a character, and he's got 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, and D3 damage on each of those, which is not bad. And the most important thing as to why Marius Leitdorf is a winner in Age of Sigmar versus where he was in 8th edition was, I don't know if you guys ever played with Marius Leitdorf or even read the rules in the Empire book, but he was straight trash. He was overcosted, just junk. And in Age of Sigmar, he does his, I'm a crazy person command ability, but they're all good things, and they don't hurt you in any way. Let's see, what are they? He gives you -1 to enemy battle shock tests, or he allows a unit to move, shoot, and attack twice, or -1 to enemy hit rolls, or 15-inch immune to battle shock bubble, or he lets you move twice, shoot twice, or attack twice with 1 unit. Those are all good things. It's random, but they're all solid. In the previous edition, he got frenzy, or he got stupidity and just sat there, and he just a complete waste. And he was the worst for people who really wanted to strategize and play a tactical game, because he could just not show up any given turn or totally ruin your day. But as for losers, this was another kind of self-indulgent one. You guilted me into it. Balthasar Gelt. Now this guy I think is a loser because he's only got 5 wounds, despite the fact that he's riding a mount, a Pegasus. So I don't know why they couldn't throw him a couple extra wounds there. 4-up save, that's good. But he casts 2 spells, and Searing Doom is pretty solid. But you have to think about where he was in 8th edition. If you could get past the high points cost, Balthasar Gelt was pretty solid because he gave +2 to his cast rolls. He was level 4, so he was +6 on every cast attempt, which was really, really amazing. And he had a 3-up ward against shooting. He could only take the Lore of Metal, which was, of course, a limitation. But I just think now, in this world where you got much better casters, Nagash, some of the Disorder, or Chaos, Sorcerers, Great Unclean One, all these awesome Zinch stuff, all this awesome casters, he just really pales in comparison. And he's supposed to be the best wizard the Empire can muster. So I don't know. He's a big loser for me.
I like it. Well, that just shows you the kind of wizards that come out of the Empire. I think that's the lesson there. Bunch of garbage. That's cool. That's the Imperial Wizarding School. That's the University of Phoenix. It's fine. It's a degree. You learn magic. You can get a job. It's just not you're not at Harvard. Okay, that's the Hoeth Tower, where they teach you how to be like James Bond and Superman and all at once. That's clearly what that is.
I'm going to transition right to my my worst one, because I think that's a great transition. You know who didn't train at the Hoeth Tower? Teclis.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if you look at Teclis now, I don't even recognize him. This isn't the same. Okay, yes, he throws around 3 spells. Congratulations. He throws around Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and a terrible, terrible Tempest spell. I guess it's not too bad, but it kind of does a mortal wound, and it reduces their move, and I don't know. It's a utility spell, and I get that. But this is Lore Master Teclis. This is the man who could choose an entire lore or choose something from everything. At the very least, they should have pulled a Nagash on him regarding magic and just said other highborn wizards, he gains their spells, or something like that.
Or he's fallen from the architect of the end times and this masterful caster manipulating everybody.
Yeah, to kind of a dude that can cast. I don't know. He is so terrible. So terrible.
He's slightly worse than your average Slon.
Yeah, let me just say this. I would rather have a normal high elf mage where I get Shield of Sapphire than Techless. Like, that's the reality, and that's an embarrassing statement. Techless was my big loser. My big winner, Eltharion. Have you looked at this dude?
Yeah,
like,
he's BA.
He is BA. I ran him in a game because I've always wanted to run Eltharion, and I was like, I'll just run him. You know, it was kind of I was having a Timmy thing. I just threw a bunch of models I've never ran on high elves on the table, and I was like, this will be fun. And then I started like reading through his stats, and I don't even know how to respond. So
he's nasty.
He is a beast.
His big weakness is 10 wounds. Okay, like we'll start there.
Sure, that's his big weakness.
Yes. He has a 16-inch move. His offensive capability is very high for a solo character. And you got to remember, he's on a smaller base. He's not like on a big dragon base. So he's like highly mobile. He can be where you need him to be with that 16-inch move. He has great offensive punch. He has, like, on his charge, he does a D6 with the lance attacks instead of 2. And so, like, on his charge, he's throwing around, like, 4 attacks that do a D3, 2 attacks that do a D6, or 3 attacks that do a D6. Like, it's just fantastic.
Tom, doesn't he also have that move where when he makes his attacks, he gets to jump and fly a little bit into a different portion of the unit? Isn't that him? Or is that
no, that's the normal Griffin. Like they looked at him and he's like, he is too amazing to also get that ability.
Okay, all right.
Instead, they gave him spells, so he can cast and unbind 1 spell per round, and he gets Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, which is all he really needs. Because this goes to my final point. Or no, no, this isn't my final point. I've
got a lot to say about this guy.
He's a 4-up save. Okay. Against damage characteristic 1 attacks, he's a 3-up save. And he can buff himself to be a 2-up save.
Right.
Okay. I watched this guy tank an entire block of like 30-some Sauruses. Like, with the predatory extra attack, like formation, like he just straight up interposed himself between the dying White Lion unit that was in front of him and this huge horde of like 30 Sauruses. And he tanked him for like 2 rounds until like the remnants of the White Lions could begin chewing through their ranks. Like, it was embarrassing, the amount of like beating this guy. And then he took like a total of like 2 wounds or whatever from like 2 full rounds of like 60 attacks or just something ridiculous because of all those rerolls. Or all those rolls, and then he was also sporting a reroll, I think, on his armor save from something else. I mean, it was bonkers. Oh, by the way, and he's a commander that can grant a highborn unit rerolls to wounds.
Yeah. I think this is Games Workshop being really nice. Because they were like, look, we sold everybody like 1 million of these Eltharions on Griffin in the Island of Blood box set. We gotta let them do something with those. Like, come on. Let's throw him a bone here. So they made this dude just a VA. Now, to be fair, narratively, he always was.
Yeah.
Like, he took on Manfred and won, and marched his way in there, and then the real master of the undead did kill him and turn him to dust, because, you know, that's how we do what we do. When he met, you know, Mr. Archon. But, hey, that's all right. He beat up Manfred, so I forever love Eltharion the Grim. Let me just say that. You're another love, bro, right there. I got your back forever, homie. Anybody who punches Manfred in his stupid face, I support. All right. So my best and worst. I'll do my worst first, because I want to save on my best. All right, my worst is Malice Darkblade, who is way too cool to be as bad as he is. Seriously, he's like one of the most like narratively rich characters in the old world. He's supposedly like this just nearly unbeatable warrior who's like marched his way around the world killing anyone who stood in his way. He's at best an average sort of Lord level character. His command ability is trash, which is just a real shame. And he has like one other ability that again is nothing to write home about. His attacks aren't that good. When he lets loose his like demon thing, he gave us up to like six unimpressive attacks that don't do enough damage. And you know, and then there's downside. Like he's not he should be better. Like, I'm not asking for him to be a Mary Sue, but if for what he was, he just doesn't live up to it. He falls way, way, way short compared to a lot of the other characters who clearly are portrayed as BA in the books and certainly get that on the paper, like your old buddy Altharian, who just got there, or Nagash, or 100 others. All right, and my big winner, and I don't know if there was a special character who has traveled farther than this man. He's fought hard to get here. He had to go up against the forces of Nurgle. He had to go up against Festus the Leech Lord. He had to get thrown into a chapel of Shalubadoob, and then come back out a bright golden knight, ready to just beat some face. And that is King Leon Leoncoeur. That is whatever. It's the King of Bretonnia. Can't ever say his name. That guy. So here's a fun test. How many points did he cost in the old edition?
Like 550.
Not even close. He was so much more than that.
700?
More than 700 points, yes.
Oh, God.
He was like, basically you could have like the end times Karl Franz, knowing what he did, or a Bretonnian Lord. Like, you know the Bretonnian Lord in the book that you can get for like 100 points? It's that guy, but he's on a hippogriff. Like, that was your 700 points. So he got about nothing special that you couldn't buy through a standard kit out. So he was garbage, just the worst, and now he's good. Like, he brings some heat. He is one of those Lord level heroes that only has like 10 wounds. So again, he's like Altharian, but like Altharian, he can really put the damage down, and he's got some really great damaging attacks. He has some really good special abilities. He does have he's just strong all over the place. And he also has a lot of great synergy with both the rest of Bretonnia and, you know, with like other order or with other Empire stuff because of that connection. So he is just a really sort of solid guy. And yeah, now that he's not 745 or whatever he was on the points, he's really worth it. And if you want to see him in action, you can watch Victor Case played a nice Age of Sigmar sort of one-day thing and had the king who beat up Cetra, which I loved. I'm pretty sure like him and Cetra got into combat, and the king killed Cetra, and only the Cetra's like super curse ended up mortal wounding him to death. But that was after he took out like 2 other units, and then Cetra. So great series of battle reports there. All right, and that brings us to the end of the order winners and losers. Lots of fun, good stuff as always. Put yours down below. Were we wrong? Were we crazy? Is the Hellstorm rocket battery really awesome? Yes. Is Tom wrong? Yes. We all know that. Okay, but we want to know what you think. We know you agree with me because you're right. Okay, so at any rate, gentlemen, do we have any closing thoughts? Jeff, any closing thoughts?
I've got a closing bit of analysis. If you had opened up this category to allow for Stormcast Eternals, would our
list
list
I did not purposely, but yes.
Right, but I don't think our list changed. And the cynical view would be when Age of Sigmar was released that of course all the newest stuff that will be shiny and it'll be better, and GW will make the rules so that they're no-brainers. But I don't think that happened, and I think that's really interesting that we could still use these old models for a long period of time and have really solid lists.
The pessimist in me wants to say, yeah, they have a warehouse full of models they need to get rid of.
That's true. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. Though they should have made all their money on that already. But anyhow.
No, that's a good point. I think that what they did with the Stormcast is actually rather smart because there's a lot of great things about them. One, they're very visually catching and they know they're in a popular sort of aesthetic, that Space Marine-esque silhouette, right? Which they know sells. Two, they are actually fairly easy to paint, but have a really high sort of top end in what you can do with them if you're so inclined. So they're good for like new people who might not be the best expert painters, but they're also fun for older players who can do a lot of cool techniques and different things on them. And they are a smaller force. They're more elite. They're more straightforward. They lack a lot of the bells and whistles. They're there to get people interested and in the game, right? They are an on-ramp army. And so I think in that regard, you're right. they don't have the big winners, the big crazy things. And I think that's probably better, right? That's what they needed. They needed an army that people could latch onto that doesn't have that isn't Looney Tunes City, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I like it. All right, Tommy, any closing thoughts?
I can't believe you chose Hellstorm as the best. It's the best, really?
I chose it as the winner, not the best, the winner. All right. Let me say this: there will be a Mordheim update coming soon. So for those of you who are curious about that, Tom and I have been collecting some feedback. We're sort of, I don't want to publish an update every day or something. That takes time and things to do all this. But there will be one coming by this weekend, so look forward to that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, Tom and I recently put out a set of rules for Mordheim AOS, Mordheim the Age of Sigmar edition. I will put a link down here to both the previous video where I talk about it, as well as all of the place where you can go to download all the files. So check that out, and like I said, new version, updated version coming this weekend. So
for those of you playing Goblin Warbands, hold on. You won't have to be auto-routing as soon as you have to make your morale checks.
Right. Sorry about that. We didn't catch that would be the case. It's kind of the case right now. So that's what playtests are for, to find those problems. But we're gonna we respond quickly and we'll adjust. So there you go. That's the whole fun of the community-led effort. So thank you all very much for watching. As always, we very much appreciate it. Jeff, it was an absolute pleasure having you on, buddy. Really appreciated it.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
Again, don't forget to go to the website for Jeff and check out the tournament. That website will be down there. I'm going to put it down there. So there you go. Make sure you go, sign up, and have some fun up in Hartford at Bradley. I know that airport will. All right. As to all of you, thank you again for watching. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.